And I would like to present the moderator of today's panel session. This is Olena Prihodko. Olena is co-founder and managing partner of Model-X Education Monaco, JCI Monaco National President 2018, educator and entrepreneur. Olena has also been awarded the State Medal of Ukraine for her outstanding contribution toward youth development, served as the advisor to the mayor of Kharkiv, and was a guest speaker at the Davos World Economic Forum 2018 about challenges facing education today. Olena will be happy to present the speakers, and Olena, the stage is yours.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. Can everybody hear me? Is the connection okay? Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our panel discussion at the JCI Eurasian Conference. I'm delighted to be part of this project launched by JCI Russia, and I would like to thank the organizers as well as the sponsors for showing incredible agility and professionalism in launching this event online, uniting our two continents. So the focus today is to discuss current educational trends, look into the growth in the EdTech industry, and talk about how EdTech products can expand on international markets. We will also take a deeper dive into a very important and a more global issue, how, according to our speaker's vision, the traditional school education has shifted and accelerated due to the pandemics. We will also talk about how to make education more accessible and ensure that students from less privileged areas or areas without good internet connection can access quality education. Being from educational background myself, my business operates in premium sector for the moment. Our group of companies runs a company in the Principality of Monaco, as well as tutoring and consulting firms in London that work with families around the world. And since the pandemic has started, we have witnessed two very important and quite contradictory trends. So the first one is the widespread digitalization of education. Essentially, there was a quote that I found recently: many classroom doors have closed, but investors' checkbooks have remained open. 20% of all VC funding in the first quarter of 2020 has been invested into EdTech products, with major players emerging in India and also the US markets. One of the major reasons for EdTech firms recording a 7-time spike in fundraising is the greater use and adoption of online learning due to the restrictions on the opening of schools and educational institutions. The second trend is lack of access to quality education by students living in remote or underprivileged areas. Most recent OECD data shows that 92.9% of German households have access to PC, compared to 50% in Turkey and 41% in Colombia, for example. So, for example, in our business, since May, we have been focusing on digitalizing the processes and preparing to offer our services to more mass markets and more remote locations in order to be able to provide quality education to students all over the world. So the important question that many governments are asking themselves is how to address this gap and find solutions to access quality education in remote areas. In the Philippines, for example, President Duterte announced that nobody goes back to school until September 21. And how this is going to affect the students in remote areas that don't have a computer. Are they going to be learning on their mobile phones like in India, or follow televised lectures and in my native Ukraine or Russia? Let's not forget that 1 year of curriculum is fundamental to many students, especially primary ones that are aged between 8 to 11 years old. This is where all the literacy and numeracy basics are being put in place. The other consideration are students with the special education needs, of course. So all of these questions I will be asking our speakers today, and what are the solutions that are proposed by the schools and EdTechs to be able to cater to those students as well. I know that many of our participants that are watching us now are both entrepreneurs and parents. So this panel discussion is both focused on providing concrete solutions and tips for entrepreneurs and the parents. So in that case, without further ado, let's move on to our speakers. So we have 1 hour together, which has been eaten by my 5 minutes intro. So let's get started, and I'm delighted to present our first speaker. Пожалуйста, включите нам презентацию первого спикера. Leonid Bashlykov, Head of International Development at Uchi.ru. Leonid holds Masters in Computer Science from Lomonosov Moscow State University. Since 2016, together with the team, he has built an industry leader from a small EdTech startup. Today, Uchiru has over 10 million active users in Russia, USA, India, and other countries. It is recognized as one of the most interactive and engaging ways to master school subjects for Key Stage 12 students. So my first question, and it's going to be a general question for all of our speakers. Can you talk to us about your backgrounds, personal and professional? How did you get into education? And how did the pandemics affect your business? Did you have to rapidly implement changes to your model or offer and change or pivot your strategy? Thank you.
Hello, everyone again. Olena, thanks for presenting me. It's an honor for me to be speaking here, and thanks for joining us on this session. So yeah, my name is Leonid. I'm the head of international business at Uchiru. So basically the company provides online interactive content in school subjects for K-12 students. If we're talking like about my background and how did I find myself in education, so basically it started pretty early. I studied in Lyceum with emphasis on physics and mathematics, and I was highly involved in Olympiad community where we participated in different competitions. We learned from each other different concepts, and we also taught others to develop their creative thinking. And it was actually indeed a life-changing experience for me, because back then I realized that I want to help others to learn and to discover their true potentials. So already from the school time, I decided to connect my mission in life with the education somehow. And so when I was studying in the university, when I was studying computer science, along with the studies, I continued to give classes in Olympiad mathematics for some time. But then I started working pretty early, and so I paused my teaching activities and focused myself on the job. And the first job was as a business analytic in a venture capital fund, which was focusing on seed deals in IT and energy. And it was also a very important point like in my life, because at this point I understood how technologies can actually influence and change the world we're living in. And it's what's important here, that they can change it in a positive way and in the negative as well. And it's like important to understand that like everything has like both sides. And so after 3 years there, in 2016, I joined Uchiru, and it was a startup back then. So it was really small, nobody knew about it. And actually it was launched just a couple of years before that, in 2012, by two alumni of Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, Ivan Kolomoets and Evgeny Milutin, who were like really passionate about making some positive changes in school education system. And so their idea was to present a new kind of a product to the market, an edutainment product, which is for education and entertainment, which will really help kids to master school subjects and understand the core concepts. And the core problem that they found back then, and which we still believe in, that students don't have like motivation to study, so they have a lack of motivation. And another thing is that there is like a total absence of personalized approach right now in our educational system. I guess that all of you as well remember these problems when you didn't have like enough motivation in school time or in university to like really sit and study some routine subjects, and the teacher didn't give you like enough of personalization to encourage you to study these subjects. So based on this, there are 3 key ideas in all of Uchiru products that we present to the market. So first of all, it's personalized approach to every student, so that every student has his own learning trajectory based on his like capabilities, on his speed of learning. The second is like learning by practice. So we encourage students not to memorize materials, but actually to practice and to understand the concepts by doing some life-related tasks. And the third important point that we ensure in our products is the gamification, which helps kids to get motivation and which encourages them to stay longer with the education materials. So today, Uchiru has over 10 million active users in Russia, United States, India, and other countries. And for example, in Russia, every second student uses our platform to master school subjects. We had a lot of challenges on our way, and well, now it's something as a matter of course that digital solutions are used actively in schools. But some 5 years ago, it was actually a huge problem. We faced a lot of problems when trying to bring digital products to schools. But finally, we did it. And so now we have a leading position in Russia. And basically now our goal is to scale our best practices and share them with educators and students worldwide. And for this reason, every year we launch an international non-profit initiative, which is called BRICS Math Competition. It's like an online Olympiad for out-of-box thinking in mathematics. So the idea of this competition is to expose the students to a new type of engaging and interesting tasks, arouse their interest in creative thinking, and introduce them to international Olympiad community. So this is again a free initiative that we promote in 7 countries around the world, and it is supported by governments and ministries of education in Russia, China, Brazil, India, and other countries. And it's actually becoming very popular, and we are kind of happy that a lot of people share our views and values, and we are very encouraged to move this initiative forward. So last year, more than 1.5 million students participated in this initiative worldwide. So it's something that actually has never happened before, like an initiative for 7 countries and like 1.5 million students participating in something that unites them, and they can like solve the tasks along with the peers from another continent. So this year, we aim to hit 3 million participants in this Olympiad, and we are really happy to partner with organizations who hold same values as us in this international non-profit social initiative. So if you have any ideas in mind on this topic, please contact me. I'll be glad to talk to you regarding this initiative. And talking about the question that Alona gave about how the pandemic influenced the education sphere. Well, for sure, everyone understands that it was like a huge challenge for education system in general and for education companies as well. So in Russia, for example, we had a huge problem that our traffic rose by 8 times in this period. And it was something that our infrastructure, for example, wasn't like ready for. And so our team had to work day and night to ensure that all the students in Russia can have the access to our platform and actually continue learning with our products. In other countries, we for sure also faced a lot of challenges. And the thing about, like, for example, developing countries, that in many of them at this point, digital solutions are not that popular. And so kids don't really have opportunities to continue studies during the pandemic. Besides that, we shouldn't forget that in many countries, there is a problem with quality of education for teachers. And so teachers also have like something that limits the kids' development. And this is why we are sure that technologies is something that can bring quality to education for all the kids, no matter of their social position, no matter of their teaching school, no matter of how their parents were raised. And this is why we are so like encouraged to develop our products, not only in Russia, but also in other countries. I think that basically, for the intro speech, it was enough. I hope that you were not bored. And I guess that we'll like continue in some discussion on the topics that Alona suggests. So thanks again for listening to me and for inviting me to speak to you. And it was a great honor to give this speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonid. And indeed, I think the note that I took is that question of motivation, I think, is question of purpose. Lots of kids, lots of students, they need to feel the purpose. And nowadays, when everything is accelerating and students have access to a lot of information. One of the biggest challenges is for them to find their real purpose. So I hope that I can see that Uchiru one of the main purposes of the company is to give purpose to the students through the Olympiads, for example. Thank you for this introduction. And now we're moving on to our second speaker. So администратор, пожалуйста, сделайте презентацию второго спикера. Okay, so Reynald Dumalte, life dedicated to education, as teacher first, as an also headmaster of secondary schools during the second part of his professional career, and also has 44 years of intense commitment to JCI at all levels. Reynald is JCI Senator and the current president of the Association of JCI Senators in Europe in 2019-2021. And I'm very honored to welcome him and his experience, many years of experience, that I would like to share with our viewers and our participants. Okay, Reynald, so I actually have the same question for you. Can you talk to us about your background? Can you talk about your education career? And also about, schools as you have witnessed them and the importance of peer-to-peer learning. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody in Europe. Good evening in Asia, and very happy to be here with you as President of the European Senate. And thank you, JCI Russia, for organizing such a brilliant event. Amazing. Happy to be part of it. Regarding school, since I remember I was a kid, I always said I want to be a teacher. So years passed, and finally I became a teacher when I was 21. And I was a teacher for a long time, and with my JCI experience, I said maybe I could be the boss of a school. And so I sit for an examination in France, national one, and I succeeded, and I became the headmaster of a secondary school. I was the leader of one big school of more or less 900 pupils, and the last one I ran was a 350 school, but with very, very difficult and underprivileged children. When I met JCI, that was in '76, and JCI was a big shock for me and a big thing for me. It helped me a lot in my career, and JCI made me think I could do things that didn't seem possible for me, as being the teacher, headmaster, or having a career in JCI. And that was quite a revelation for me. JCI also taught me about the team working, and that, as it was said today a couple of times, alone you can go fast, but with a group, with a team, you can go better and achieve much better things. I choose to speak to you about three things I had in my different schools. First one is one thing called the Open School Project, and the second is opening the school up to parents for a successful integration, and I will finish with the peer-to-peer collaboration. The Open School Project, the basic idea is very, very simple. It's to open the school when it's supposed to be closed, during holidays, for example, during vacation, for Christmas, for Easter, for summer holidays. And I did that 4 or 5 times a year for about 40, 50 pupils, volunteer pupils and volunteer teachers and people coming out also for 3 or 4 days. And that was really a success. We did an alternation of remediation, tutoring, refresher courses, individual tutoring, and pupil-to-pupil assistance, exam preparation. So there was a school part, usually in the morning, and in the afternoon we had cultural, culinary, and sport activities like horse riding, golf, cooking, baking, visiting museums, companies, preparation for first aid, diplomas, and many more. So that was really a success, and that was bringing also a different relationship between adults and pupils. And we focused also on pupils who were underprivileged, and so that we could help them better. The second project was something for the parents. In the last school I ran, I had maybe 40–45% of the parents that were coming from North Africa and sub-Saharan countries. So sometimes I had in my office a mother, a father who had a problem or who wanted to meet me, and he came with a neighbor, a cousin, somebody else, to be the interpreter between him or her and me. And I tried to speak very slowly, choose my word, so that the person could understand me. And that brought me the idea to do something for these families. So we organized something a bit different. That was 3 things. The first thing was to organize French language courses for the parents, 2 hours a week, to help them to speak better French. And we did that with an association who was more able to do it than we were. The second part of this project was to give the parents a better knowledge of the school system, because these parents usually have no idea of how school works in France or in another country when they are foreigners. So I took them to visit different kind of schools, secondary schools, high school, university, business school. So the parents came to visit places they would have no chance to visit any time. And the third aspect of the project was to give the parents a better knowledge of the French institutions. So we took them to the city town hall, to the regional prefecture, to the departmental council, to the regional council. And that was a surprise for the parents, and they were very happy because it was unexpected for them to visit such places. And finally, I took them to the National Assembly in Paris, and that was really something great for them and for their kids. We had a group of more or less 30–35 parents, mostly mothers, because they are more free than their husbands. And that was a project we did about 20 weeks to do it. That was a great impact, great effect on parents, on the city, great effect on the pupils, who were happy to see their parents participating in the life of the school, and their parents, that we showed interest to their parents, and that was really nice to do that. The third aspect was peer-to-peer collaboration. We did that in our school between pupils, older and younger pupils together, but we did that also, for example, our pupils, I had a secondary school, our pupils going to primary schools with little kids, helping them, discussing with them, and they have the same word, they can understand better each other. And we had also a collaboration with the business school, who came to our school to help and to mentor and to coach our pupils. And our pupils also went to the business school to meet them and to discuss with them. And they made big progress, and they get better and better results. And they got better and better results with this collaboration with students from business schools. And that was really nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Reynold. And this is why I wanted you to speak today and to share your experience, and also kind of speak between the two techies that we have today, because you see, you talk about the importance of integration and then cultural exchange, and this kind of community. Because what I've seen, in the recent month is that education became more of an individual experience rather than a shared and community experience, as we all know it from the schools. So this is one of the issues that we have been trying to tackle, for example, in my company, how to bring this peer-to-peer learning. What if we had to make it more virtual, if we had to go online? So I will go back to this topic a bit later, just after we present our third speaker. So Adarsh Khandelwal, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, your surname.
Yeah, you are.
So Adarsh is a co-founder of Collegify. He's based in India, in New Delhi. Adarsh is also a friend. He's recipient of Stanford Teachers Tribute 2018, and he has worked with students in over 9 countries and counseled over 5,000 students. So together with his friend Rohan, he has co-founded Collegify, one of the first performance analytics-enabled e-learning platform that empowers students to ace their SAT and SAT exams through interactive video lessons, tailor-made plans, exhaustive practice questions, and official style mock tests. Additionally, through its processes, Collegify helps students receive more than $20 million in aid every year. And I must say that we have been to, with my colleagues, we went to India, we've met Adarsh and the team, we've seen the techies in Kolkata, and I think you've done an amazing job digitalizing your product, because you started from a center like we have. So yeah, Adarsh, welcome. Thank you for participating in the panel today. Please, can you talk to us about Collegify? Can you talk about the recent news? What happened with you guys since the pandemics? Also, maybe a couple of words about some people that don't know about Google Hands. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Olena, and thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Olena, and thank you, JCI. I think we are living in a new world. So, yeah, I mean, pandemics have happened before. Oxford University, Harvard University, they've come through various pandemics earlier. So I think they are all doing okay. And so will we, right? So talking about Collegify, talking about my background. So it is a humble start where, we identified an opportunity in the higher college counseling space. So when I was in high school, college, and I was exploring my journey, I was unable to figure out or get, unbiased opinion, unbiased counseling about how to get into a successful college. And, with the admission percentage and the, the competitiveness increasing year after year, it was just getting difficult. So yeah, I mean, we started out from a garage back in the days with my friend from college, and there's been no looking back. Today, we've helped more than 5,000 students to get admissions with Ivy League institutions, Oxbridge, top European institutions, and the whole myth that abroad education is only for the rich was the problem with Collegify solved, because each year we've got approximately $3 to $4 million in aid. I recently got a Stanford teacher tribute for exceptional teaching in 2018, and we have sort of taken the opportunity of leveraging technology very heavily from the start. So we are one of the first analytics platform which uses data analytics and machine learning to make your learning more powerful. So SAT, ACT is what we've started with, and the focus is to sort of now cater to more than 30 to 40,000 students, which we've been sort of working with in the last few months, especially with the pandemic, and with the overall essence of bridging the gap between the education and the knowledge. Collegify sort of successfully been able to cater to a large number of students, right, in the ecosystem. So yeah, that is where we are in terms of the element. And yeah, I mean, my family, from the background point of view, they thought, you know, when I told them that I want to become a coach, I want to become a teacher, tutor, and counselor. So, you know, they were amazed that, hey, you know, are you sure? Because I don't think coaches in India make a lot of money. So, and today Collegify is a well-recognized name, not only in India. We are working with, you know, parents and families in Asia, as well as in the US, and leveraging technology primarily to make learning more powerful. The focus, EdTech, I think overall had a only element of video learning. So we have used AI as well as machine learning to make sure that it needs and caters to each and every individual requirement. And there is a lot of students who have, you know, who've paid 1/10 the cost they would pay a private tutor to sort of to win the SAT ACT exam. And now with the pandemic, you know, obviously there is an acceleration, because this is the only mean in terms of having you know, the education go from places. So pre-pandemic, you know, the students were used to the brick and mortar setup. I have been a coach myself. I've taught you know, in a brick and mortar classroom setup. And but today we are you know, speaking to students in rural India, and the overall, you know, mindset, which was about only learning through the in-person element, is sort of now getting slowly and steadily replaced by online classes. And the way we are sort of talking in the JCI community today, it's great, right? So a lot of time has you know, we spent in terms of convincing, and it took a while to sort of you know, come to the comfort with e-learning. But now I think it's been a fantastic journey in terms of the growth aspect. And the pandemic has generated acceptance, you know, for the overall edtech industry, for the overall edtech space. And it is now, I think, the future of how we see. And each day we are connecting with thousands of students. This morning I was addressing, you know, students from rural India, from this school called Vidya Gyan Schools, which works with the underprivileged. And you know, I was surprised to see how comfortable they were with the overall you know, technology. And it's amazing, because, you know, it would not be possible for me to honestly, you know, travel that distance and, you know, go out there and sort of speak to them. But today, the power of technology and a service like Collegify, which is sort of solving problem across the world in terms of having students get unbound in this ecosystem. And so yeah, that is my background in terms of the work I've done in this space. And fairly, I'm one of the youngest counselors in the country. So that that itself is a element of you know, a huge responsibility. So I think the pandemic element is growing, and I think the Indian community is responding well to online learning. The leadership here. Sure. Yeah. So the leadership here is, you know, very proactive, and I think going forward, we will have some good things, you know, happening in the edtech space, and a lot of disruption happening because of technology.
Thank you, Adarsh, for your for talking about Collegify, and also mentioning how actually EdTech has given equal access to students in India, to, for example, financial aids or preparation for the exams to get into higher institutions. So moving on from this kind of general question, I have a couple of specific questions to each one of you, and I would like to ask Leonid, talk about Uchiru's expansion in BRICS countries. And yeah, because that's as you said, back in the day, the founders started developing the products in Kharkiv, my native city, and now you have, as you said, more than 10 million students. You operate in China, India, Brazil. How is Uchuru successful in those countries? How different is the customer behavior to the Russian market? And also maybe a couple of points about what are your suggestions for an edtech startup that wants to expand into foreign markets? I probably would give you 3 minutes for that.
Okay, thanks for the question. Well, I think 3 minutes is really tough schedule, but I'll try to answer your question like one by one. So regarding our success in foreign countries, so basically we are not huge worldwide. So our main like audience is still in Russia, but we are working hard to increase our numbers in the United States, India, and Indonesia. And like right now, we have very good results in the United States and in India, for example. And in different countries, we face different problems. For example, in Indonesia, we see that like 90% of the traffic comes from mobile devices, which is like something incredible if we're talking about a product like in Russia, for example, where we have more than 60% usage from computers. Also, another problem is like that in Indonesia, for example, there are a lot of remote islands where they don't have internet access, and it's like a huge problem not only for us to like connect with the students, but also for the government to ensure that the kids on these islands have the access to quality of education. And it's not only about technology; it's also about teachers who can give quality of education. It's about books that should be shipped to these islands, etc. But technologies, they actually can help to reach the students, and it's so that everyone understands it's not like a magical solution that will bring everyone like prosperity and perfect education, but it's something that really helps if it's used correctly and if it's used like specifically to meet some group of students that don't have access. Then it's like a very good instrument to improve the general level of education in like developing countries and like in developed as well. So yeah, I think that's the answer. I think that there was some second part of the question. I may have skipped it.
Yeah, the second part was about, I was wondering about new markets. So essentially, I have seen one of your articles that you wrote about tips to entrepreneurs about taking their edtech project from kind of national level to more international. So that's quite an interesting point as well for us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this is a huge topic for discussion, but the key idea that I want to share with you is that basically going to the new market with the product that you already have is basically similar to launching a new product on the market. So even though you have experience on the local market with your product, when you bring it to the new market, it's like a whole new world, and you have to approach it as a task where you have to bring a new product to a new market. And it's crucial to understand that like it's not as easy, like you don't just go to another market with the existing product, at least like in education sphere, because education in different countries is really different, and you have to bring a personalized approach in each case. And another thing that I noticed, like on experience of our company, so the company should really take a strategic decision that it wants to go abroad, because if it's just like, you know, a second or like a third or like fifth priority for the company to go abroad, then it's like most probably it won't succeed. And so it's important that company understand that it's like an investment and strategic projects that should be like prioritized. And only in this case, and with a lot of efforts, a lot of resources taken in this direction, the company can have good results in this work.
Thank you. I also think that, I mean, education is a very political question.
Sure.
It's something that we have been looking into as well. And, you know, for example, opening and developing a company in the US or Spain or India takes a very different degree of, penetrating the markets and also working with local specialists.
Sure.
Yeah, and also another point is that we, speaking of Indonesia, we have many members in JCI Indonesia, so I'm pretty sure that if you would be interested in some contacts in Indonesia, JCI is always there to kind of connect if you need.
Sounds perfect.
Reinhold, moving on to you. So we have been speaking about how edtechs can help students in remote locations, and how it's important for edtechs to have governmental support, as in case, for example, with Bushiru. How do you think the emerging edtech businesses should work with educators that ensure that their offer is relevant and that it reflects the real need of students from the school bench, essentially? Because we have seen many times that there are companies where, the founders might not be from educational backgrounds, and they kind of go un peu à côté de la plaque, as we say in French. So how would you advise edtechs to collaborate with educators?
For educators, as we prepare, I think educators, I had to select some answers. Educators, I think, must push the pupils, because underprivileged children usually don't think they are able to make some kind of studies, and they have low ambitions. So I think educators should encourage underprivileged children to have more ambition in their career. They must also put emphasis on cultural and sport activities, because that brings a lot of confidence, and that brings a lot of to develop strategies, to anticipate tasks, and that's good for the pupils. Educators must give also more ambitions to, I was speaking of children, but I will focus also on girls, because in a lot of countries, girls are not on the front line, and girls can do as well, if not better, and even better as boys, if they believe in themselves and their abilities. We must also, as I said previously, help the parents to understand how school works, and give them the codes to understand and help better their children. Educators must also personalize the teaching, because if you give the same teaching to a group of 30 pupils, that's not the best solution. Maybe you have a part of the teaching for everybody, and then you must adapt to all the teachers. We were speaking also about governments. In governments, most of the governments give a lot of money to education, but it doesn't work, and as it is not as successful as it should be. Sometimes you have governments give money to schools, or region give money to school. You can buy a lot of things, but you can buy a lot of modern equipments, the last technologies. But the problem is the training of the children, of the educators, because if you have something really new and you don't know how to let that work correctly, it's a problem. And finally, I think for most of the government, education should be the priority number one, because children are our future. Regarding companies also, some companies do a lot for their employees. They care a lot, they do day nursery, childcare, homework. I had an example in the company not far from where I live. During the pandemic, the company had a lot of adults who were not in the company, because their child during the pandemic had to stay at home, and they had to keep the child. So the company had space, and they opened a sort of classroom and a place to welcome the children during the day. Parents came with their children in the company. The company paid somebody to take care of the children, to teach them, to work with them, to make peer-to-peer teaching. And that worked very fine, and everybody was happy. Children were happy to be together. Parents were happy to have their child in the company and to be able to work. And everyone was happy with this solution. So that's mainly what I wanted to say. And also in this time, because I think it's everywhere in the world. The same problem is going to come in September, October, November, the end of the year. We'll have more and more precarity and unemployment. And I think companies must also try a lot of solutions before separating for workers and employees, and try to find solutions not to create more unemployment. Find alternative solutions.
Sorry, I'm muted. I absolutely agree with you. And for example, in Monaco, currently during the pandemics, you can't fire, because in Monaco there is a provision that allows an employer to fire an employee without reason. Well, this disposition has been currently kind of considered as anti-constitutional, and you can't do this. So preserving employment is an absolutely crucial point. I'd like to move to Adarsh and ask him about, can you tell us about the scholarships available in higher education? Since you have been talking about Collegify having a lot of success with aid, how should one prepare for that? And if you could make the reply brief, because I think we're kind of running out of time, and I still would like to come back to one of our main questions for everybody.
Right. So though scholarship is it's a huge space, I'll try to cover as briefly as I can. So the whole concept about aid is that a lot of aid is available at an undergraduate level, right? Now, what colleges are looking for is, they are looking at students with a holistic resume. They're looking at students with, good academics, consistent academic performance. So if parents are hearing me right now, make sure that, the students have consistent academic performance throughout their high school. And then they have a resume which is, which shows passion. 2020 is about skill building. If you see the kind of jobs which are, which companies are hiring for, it's basically creative jobs, design-based jobs. So if you can show at an early level that, you are good at any particular sport at a higher level, or if you are sort of, good in terms of any particular activity, in terms of research or elements which, or let's say if you are a computer CS enthusiast, if you can build your resume by doing activities, a lot of questions come around pandemic and how do we continue resume building around pandemic. So, a lot of virtual opportunities have begun. I mean, students are learning virtually in terms of doing virtual internships. A lot of, startups are providing, college courses, credit courses, which are available, which you can sort of add on consistently. And obviously you need to have a powerful story. So having humility in your application makes it helpful. And if you can, you need to have obviously work in the community service as well. So you need to show active involvement in community engagement. So countries like Singapore, if you're meeting the criteria of high academics, consistent academic, good resume, good essays, they offer you up to 100% aid at NUS, NTU, right? These two universities, I have each year a lot of kids getting in. Hong Kong University, Science and Technology in Hong Kong. USA, there are all the Ivies, and there are need-blind schools which do not even look at the finances. So at an undergraduate level, if you can plan well, if you can find a right fit institution, aid and scholarships are widely available. And obviously you need to plan that not right at the at the end of it, but right in the beginning. So when is a good time to start is visiting colleges, developing, networking with them online. And you can begin all these activities, grade 10, grade 11, and you can sort of interact with them, understand what are the opportunities available in the space you are interested in. So a lot of aid is actually available at the undergraduate level. In India, parents, and the overall information gap is not that high, right? People are not aware. So, what Collegify has been able to successfully do, and I'm very proud about it, is that, we've successfully been able to bridge the gap between, the information which was missing and today, where a lot of coverage around admissions and scholarships each year. We've made it possible for kids who come from lower income backgrounds. I was working with a kid this morning who learned English in grade 9. And he comes from a farming background. Parents are farmers, they don't have any electricity. So, these stories are stories which a Harvard will want to know. And if the student has the dedication and the ability, I mean, a lot of opportunities are available at a study abroad level. So you can get up till 100% aid based on the kind of finances the family shows. And there are a lot of need-based, need-blind. So all those elements are there. So the overall idea is begin early, start looking at colleges, start looking at interdisciplinary learning, which is very essential in 2020. I mean, you did not just focus on one aspect of your career, right? That if you are a CS enthusiast or a computer science enthusiast or economics enthusiast, what else are you equipped with? So if you have good skills, if you have good resume, if you have good stories to tell in your essays, if you have good teachers supporting you, you will end up getting a good place, right? And you'll find the right fit for yourself.
Thank you, Adarsh, for this very kind of detailed advice. I would like to get back to the main point within the time that we have left, of which we have very little. So one of the first questions that I have addressed was how can business leaders address the gap in education, and if we were to face more lockdowns in the future, which is a high possibility. How do you think, what could be the solutions to ensure that the quality education is provided to students in remote areas? And yeah, we have 3 minutes left. So if I could get like maybe a brief, short reply from each of you, starting from Leonid, please.
Okay, well, yeah, 3 minutes, like, again, difficult to open the topic. But, like this pandemic actually showed the capabilities of each country to respond to this kind of situation. For example, in China, just like a couple months from the beginning, they launched a national online platform for studying like school subjects. And it really helped them, and that ensured that like all the students in China had access to education while sitting at home. And like the same is possible in other countries, like each country can find the ways to approach the students. It's just the matter of dedication, I guess. And this kind of experience like pandemic teaches us and like improves the educational system in general, in my opinion.
Thank you. That was brief. Raymond, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, what we learned during the pandemic in the French education is the proximity, because some families are well equipped with a computer, cell phones, etc., but some are badly equipped or completely not equipped with that, and that brought proximity because teachers took the habit, for example, to call on the phone the families, the pupils, to help them working. And that was a nice thing that brought, proximity between pupils, adults, families, and that was nice, and I hope that will continue.
Sure. The use of also outdoor spaces is an option, unless you're living in a very small city. Adarsh, would you like to contribute to this question as well before we wrap up?
Yes. So, I mean, it's a constant work. We have to keep working towards, evolving this dilemma of how online education can sort of be adapted quickly. And I think all of us have to contribute, right? It's not, India as a population in this part of the world, 67% of the population is, they do not have the right means. So we have to constantly work. The government is very supportive. A lot of NGOs and startups have taken a certain fund, and they've sort of, launched a couple of programs like Train the Trainer program in in a village in terms of how to use a service like Zoom. And once they learn, they can sort of adapt. So it's a problem which we have to solve together, and bridge the gap. And but online learning can really fundamentally grow, and it can sort of it can make a huge difference if we are all sort of pulling in together towards the larger picture.
Great. Well, I think we have to wrap up now, because our panel discussion was a bit kind of eaten, but we're not going to do this with the next ones. In any case, I am very, very grateful to all of you. Thank you, Adash. Thank you, Reynald. Thank you, Leonid, for making time to speak with the JCI community today. As I said before, it's a big international network, and most of our members are entrepreneurs. And if you are interested in connecting with any of the kind of potential markets, please feel free to get in touch with with me, with the senators. Yeah, thank you once again. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in person quite soon, and I hope that this is also going to be in Moscow, because it's a city that is very close to my heart.
Thank you, Lena, and the JCI community. It was great connecting and sharing our thoughts as leaders.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We hope to meet in 1 year in Moscow again.
Absolutely.
As it was planned at the beginning.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.